This is a horror movie full of physical torture. Cockroach eggs are forced into people's ears to hatch alive. People are boiled alive in boiling water. Of course, these are just the beginning. Mike wakes up all of a sudden. He finds himself trapped in a basement. At the same time, there are 3 other people with him. They are Tom, Elsa, and Bob, who is covered in wounds. Confused, Mike tries to escape. He tries every possible way he can think of. Tom tells him to stop wasting his energy. There's no way to get out. Their captor's only goal is to lock them up and eventually torture them until they end up like Bob. But Mike still refuses to give up after hearing that. A moment later, Mike notices there are surveillance cameras in the room, so he stands up and starts yelling at the cameras. Mike's outburst makes the butcher furious. Right away, the lights flicker. Elsa and Tom look terrified, because when the lights flicker, it means the butcher is coming to punish them. But Mike isn't scared at all. Then the butcher walks in. He picks Bob up and grabs a knife. He forces Elsa to cut off a piece of Bob's flesh with it. This is a warning to Mike. Trying to escape will only get his friends hurt. The butcher sees that Mike still isn't convinced. He hands the knife to Mike and tells him to stab him, but the butcher only gets a minor scratch. Mike's resistance makes the butcher even angrier. The butcher calls Tom over. He gives Tom a tube and a cockroach. Then he shoves the cockroach straight into Elsa's mouth. After doing all this, the butcher leaves. Elsa almost chokes to death on the cockroach. Meanwhile, when Mike steps on the cockroach and kills it, he finds a hidden blade under it. Mike still doesn't give up. He uses the blade to cut through the rope of his handcuffs. But right after he cuts the rope, the butcher comes back. This time, Elsa is the one who gets into trouble. When Mike gets out, there's an iron gate blocking his way. So Mike crawls into the ventilation duct, but he doesn't expect the duct to be so flimsy. He falls down and ends up right back where he started. When he wakes up again, he finds his handcuffs have been replaced with iron chains. At that moment, the butcher shows up once more. This time, he's here to punish Mike. The butcher calls Tom over and gives him an axe. Tom swings the axe at Mike twice. They all think it's over, but then the butcher hands Tom big nails. He tells Tom to nail Mike's hands to the wall. Soon, Mike passes out from the excruciating pain. In his dream, he sees his beautiful wife. The 2 of them are about to get intimate. But suddenly, the scene changes. His wife turns into the butcher. This frightens Mike awake instantly. Looking at his hands nailed to the wall, Mike falls into complete despair. But when he thinks of his beautiful wife, he decides he has to escape no matter what. Mike forces himself to pull his hands off the nails. Enduring the intense pain, the pain is so unbearable that he passes out again. When he regains consciousness, Mike calms down. He doesn't act recklessly anymore. He thinks carefully. There must be a reason why the butcher kidnapped the 3 of them. Just then, Bob seems like he wants to say something, but his mouth is sewn shut, and he keeps drawing semicircles with his fingers. Bob fights through the pain. He tears open his sewn-up mouth and says the word horseshoe. As soon as Tom hears that, he remembers the horseshoe brand on the butcher's hand. Then it hits all of them. The 4 of them actually know each other. They used to hang out together all the time when they were kids. One night, when they were young, the 4 of them were in the woods, talking about the creepy legends surrounding that area. They said there was a psychotic butcher in the woods who was extremely cruel. Just as they were talking, they heard a noise nearby. It scared all of them half to death. It turned out to be a little boy passing by. The boy's name was Charlie, and he lived nearby. He had no friends to play with, so he was wandering around alone. He happened to run into the 4 of them. He begged them to let him join their group, but the 4 of them were really mean. They told Charlie he had to pass a test first. In reality, they just wanted to torture him. First, they stuffed a cockroach into Charlie's mouth. Then Bob covered Charlie's mouth, forcing him to swallow the cockroach whole. This made Charlie so angry that he ran away. But later, the 4 of them chased after him. Tom said, "You want to join us, don't you? Then you have to pass the test." With that said, they used nails to pin Charlie's fingers down. Then they dumped manure on his head. After doing that, they left him there and walked away. The next day, Elsa went to find Charlie. Pretending to feel sorry, she apologized to him. Then she lied and said he was now part of their group. She told him they were going to play hide and seek together. The four of them led him to the door of a small wooden house. They told Charlie to go inside and wait for a while. Then he could come out and look for them. Charlie believed them completely. Little did he know that small wooden house was exactly the home of the psychotic butcher. That's how Charlie was captured by the butcher. The butcher had no children of his own. He had been wanting to find a kid to raise as his son, someone who would inherit his twisted career someday. The first step in turning Charlie into a butcher was to break him mentally through fear. He locked Charlie up in a pigsty, forcing him to do all kinds of dirty work every day. Whenever Charlie disobeyed, he would beat and kick him mercilessly. He even branded a horseshoe mark on Charlie's body. After some time passed, the butcher started pretending to be a caring father. He kept brainwashing Charlie, telling him that his real parents had abandoned him, and that from now on, he could only rely on the butcher. Once Charlie decided to stay with him, the butcher started the final step of his plan. He made Charlie exercise to build up his strength. Then he began teaching Charlie how to kill people. He told Charlie that pain could get rid of evil thoughts. Charlie never forgot those words. Before he knew it, Charlie had grown up. One day, he accidentally found a big secret in the butcher's room. He learned that his real parents hadn't been looking for him all this time, because the butcher had already killed them. The butcher had burned them alive in their house. Charlie was filled with rage. He lit a fire, boiled a pot of water, and cooked the butcher alive in it. But after killing the butcher, Charlie didn't feel any relief. Instead, he became just as twisted and psychotic as the butcher had been. He thought that if those four kids hadn't bullied him back then, he would never have ended up in the butcher's hands, and his parents would still be alive. So Charlie took on the butcher's identity completely. He kidnapped the four people who had bullied him as children, and started torturing them in all kinds of cruel ways. He tried to heal his childhood trauma through this brutal revenge. At this point, his mind had become completely warped. He had transformed from a victim into a brand new perpetrator. Now, back to the present. After the three of them finally figure out the reason behind all this, Mike says they should call the butcher in and just apologize to him. Elsa laughs when she hears that. If an apology was enough, then there would be no need for all this punishment and revenge. Besides, the guy they're dealing with is a total psychopath. But Mike still insists that there's a tiny bit of humanity left in Charlie. Mike shouts Charlie's name at the top of his lungs. When Charlie hears him, he comes over. Mike apologizes to him for what he did when they were kids. But instead of getting forgiveness, he gets choked and shot with a taser. When Elsa shouts stop, Charlie turns to look at her. Then Charlie pulls out a syringe. It looks like it's filled with cockroach eggs. Mike watches helplessly as Charlie injects the contents of the syringe into Elsa's ear. After doing that, Charlie leaves. At this moment, Mike looks at the surveillance camera and comes up with a new plan. He pretends to start a fight with the others. As expected, the angry Charlie storms back in right away. He's holding a high-pressure water hose in his hand. But when he walks in, he finds Mike lying on the ground, motionless. Charlie leans down to check if Mike is dead. That's when the three of them jump up and attack him together, but without any proper coordination, and with only the water hose Charlie brought as a weapon. After Charlie easily subdues the three of them again, he goes straight for Tom first. After all, Tom had the nerve to jump on him during the attack. Charlie calls Elsa over. He pulls out a small knife and forces her to perform a brutalized surgery on Tom with it. Then he throws a bunch of bugs into Tom's eyes. Next, Charlie turns his attention to Mike, because Mike was the ringleader of the group back in the day. Just as Charlie is about to strangle Mike to death, Elsa doesn't beg for mercy. Instead, she chooses to attack Charlie where it hurts the most with sharp, cruel words. For a twisted psychopath like Charlie, those words are like a knife stabbing straight into his heart. They completely shatter his already fragile mental state. Charlie has a breakdown and runs away. Mike picks up the knife that Charlie dropped on the ground. When Charlie gets back to his room, he starts smashing things to vent his anger and pain. Meanwhile, with the three captives, Tom demands that Mike give him the knife. At the same time, Charlie's twisted rule punishing the others for one person's mistake has planted the seeds of resentment among the three of them. As Mike and Tom argue and struggle over the knife, the dagger accidentally stabs Tom. In a panic, Mike shoves the knife into Tom's mouth to muffle his screams. This unexpected incident completely destroys the already tense relationship between them. It also makes Elsa lose her mind. She grabs the knife from Mike's hand and points it directly at Mike. Then she starts shifting all the blame onto him. She claims that Mike was the one who led the bullying of Charlie, and that she was just following everyone else's lead. But she doesn't expect that. Charlie, who heard the commotion, rushes back in. He grabs Elsa from behind and holds the knife to her throat. Seeing this, Mike tries to play the friendship card again. He tells Charlie that they had always considered him a friend back then. He begs Charlie to let him see the familiar face he used to know. Mike manages to get the knife from Charlie and stabs forward with it, but he accidentally stabs Elsa instead of Charlie. Now, only two people are left alive, Mike and Charlie. Even though Mike has the knife in his hand, he knows he can't beat Charlie in a fight, so he turns around and runs away, starting a tense chase. Throughout the entire chase, Charlie has the upper hand the whole time. Mike has several chances to kill Charlie, but for some reason, he always chooses to knock Charlie out and run instead of finishing him off. Like right now, Mike grabs a bucket and smashes it over Charlie's head, but after hitting him, he just runs into the woods. But when he turns around, he sees Charlie chasing after him with a knife in his hand. This time, Charlie's attitude changes completely. He tells Mike to take the knife and kill him, but even when given the chance, Mike can't bring himself to do it. In the end, Mike manages to get the knife and stabs Charlie in the waist. When he sees Charlie fall to the ground and stop moving, Mike finally leaves the woods. After that, he goes to the police station to report everything. Then he goes back home. He sees his wife and their children and hugs them tightly. Time passes, and the scene shifts. Mike's two children have grown up in the exact same spot where everything happened. The two kids are telling their friends the story of their dad. They say their dad is a total hero who once killed a brutal butcher right here. One of their friends asks if that's true, then why didn't the police find the butcher's body back then? Just then, a noise is heard not far away. It seems like the story from 10 years ago is about to repeat itself.